All right, welcome to episode 5 of the Healer Theory. I'm Icy with Icy Fire Gaming, and my co-host is Shoddy. How you doing, Shoddy?
Hello, I'm doing just fine. It's been a while,
Awesome.
hasn't it, Icy?
Yeah, it's been a while, but we're not going to acknowledge the 5-month gap from this episode to the last episode, and we're just going to truck right into the patch note 37 review and act like nothing happened.
Yes. Okay.
Sound
That's,
good?
yep.
Okay, because I mean I've still been there, but you know what I mean. People can still reach me on the YouTube thing or Discord channels and stuff like that. So
Yeah, we've definitely been reading the comments and seeing. So,
yeah. Okay, so for this patch note review, we're just gonna go over the healer stuff or what we deem is relevant towards healers. We did cut a lot of the sets that had offensive penetration, things like that. Of any sets that you really wouldn't be using in a practical sense to consider yourself a healer, and some class changes that we thought were relevant as well. So let's just jump into the first one. Right Master's Bond, light armor set. It's got a line of Magica Recovery, Healing Done, Max Magica, and the fifth line reads Healing an ally within 12 meters with a direct heal creates a 15-meter tether between you for 10 seconds. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. You and allies touching the tether are healed every second, scaling off the higher of your max mag or stam. If you or an ally is overhealed by the tether, you gain minor heroism for 1.5 seconds. Now, I like this set conceptually because anything that's different I think is kind of cool, right? But kind of like what me and you were talking about, Shadi, offline the other day, all actual sets that heal just suck.
yes. So when I look at this set, I don't really care how much the set's actually healing for, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. I'm looking at this set, I'm looking at the healing done on the three-piece, that's not bad. The Magica recovery isn't bad. Max Magica is kind of like mid tier. But then as far as the five-piece goes, again, I don't really care how much it heals for. It could be ticking for 300, but what I'm really looking at is the minor heroism,
Mm-hmm.
the potential uptime of this set, and the difficulties you're going to have using this set. Probably the biggest thing that really alerts me on issues that this set could have is the fact that it is a tether set. Any skilled PvP player who has played the Necromancer will know that tethers are kind of not that good. Now, albeit you can at least move with the other person with this tether, so it won't be as bad as a Necromancer tether,
Mm-hmm.
but there is still potential of that tether to break from line of sight and other potential issues that could arise from that. But the main gain from this set, I would say, is the minor heroism. It's pretty good on that regard.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking I could probably use this in combination with my guard, my Oaken guard setup. I wouldn't be able to really take advantage of the minor heroism bonus since I already have it, but my ally would get it, which would be pretty nice. And having two tethers attached to my target, they both have the same range, so it wouldn't be that bad to keep track of, really. I guess it really just depends. Since my normal guard build, I use Mara's with my mitigation set. It depends what the heal was for this. And I know Mara's got nerfed a little bit. I think it's down to like, what? Is it 1,000 in PvP or like 500 in PvP?
Um, I don't know what the exact tooltips will be, but I saw something around 1100 down from 1600, I think. So,
Yeah, and I think that's in PvE terms. So I guess since you just kind of cut it to 50% of that, right? 1,100 is what, 550? So
it's pretty low now. Yeah.
yeah. So I think with a guard, with like an Oaken guard setup, if the tether heal was more than 500, I guess, right? I think that'd be worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't completely trash on this set. It's mainly the minor heroism. I would say that I probably wouldn't use it on an Oaken Soul build just because I don't like any kind of overlap on my builds.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, since it overlaps with the Oaken Soul, I probably wouldn't use it. I would yeah, you could consider it on a 2-bar build, but I don't know about the 1-bar.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to run it because of the minor heroism. But I might run it just to see if it's better than Mara's, right? So I think it might be interesting. Then now the direct heal, because I only have one burst heal in this case since I'm running guard, and then radiating regen and echoing vigor. So with polar winds, does that count as a direct heal?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So the most class burst heals would count as a direct heal then in this case. So it wouldn't be that bad to keep the uptime relatively high. So okay. And for the stats, I know it's recovery, healing, max magicka, and you were like, that's kind of it's. I think this is great for a healer stat setup. What do you think is the better preferred 3-piece 3-line
The
stats?
2-3 are fine. It's the 4 that's like okay. You would actually get a little bit more value out of weapon and spell, just because of the higher scaling on your other heals. Max mag isn't that important. You mostly want to go off of recoveries. I mean, I don't try to build in the max mag, and I already still get 27k. So.
I wonder. I think so. I'm trying to understand. I think you say that because you run death dealers, so you naturally have a high max mag. So then that stat is irrelevant for you in all cases.
You could function as a healer with 20k max mag. You would just need a healthy amount of
20k
recovery. Yeah.
Oh man, that's pushing it.
You definitely could.
I mean, 20k max mag?
Yeah, you definitely could.
What's your recovery then?
You'd have to have like a 3k recovery.
Yeah, okay. So there's always a give and take in that respect. Okay. All right, so I'm probably going to work on collecting this set over the next couple months and then at least test it out and then come back with a report and yeah, it's actually trash. Or it's actually pretty good. Not too bad.
Yeah, if I were to give a prediction, I would say that it's probably going to work and people are going to find a use for it.
Yeah. We'll see. Okay, next one is Nyx Hound's Howl. Medium armor set, 3 lines of weapon damage, and then completing a fully charged heavy attack applies major cowardice for your target for 1 second per 1,000 weapon damage you have, lowering their weapon and spell by 430. You then gain major courage for the same duration, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 430. This effect can occur once every 12 seconds. I like a healer, or I like running kind of unique stuff like this where you can apply like a debuff, right? In terms of having a offensive support ability, right? Because you can still benefit from all that weapon damage, which will boost your heals naturally, and then applying the cowardice to your target for 1 second. I think Shoddy, we average like 4,000 spell damage, so 4 seconds every 12 seconds, so it's 8-second downtime.
I was going to say that this set is really good for somebody who's a DPS, but this set's probably not that good for a healer because, like you said, most healer builds are going to have a hard time cracking over 5k weapon and spell, and 4 to 5 seconds with a 12-second cooldown, I don't think I can justify that.
Yeah, and especially oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. If you could get 7 to 8k, weapon and spell, which is what a DPS build can do, then you could see that would be okay. But anything too much lower than that, then you're probably just not getting enough value.
Yeah. I'd like to run it on an oak console setup, but I already get the major courage, and that's kind of so half the set becomes worthless. So then I'm only applying a 4-second major cowardice, which is a meme.
Yeah, which again, I wouldn't do that just because it's kind of like overlapping.
Yeah. I think we put a big -X on that set.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see what you could do with it as a healer. I mean, of course it'll function as it says, but you really only get like 30 to 40% uptime. That's just not enough.
I guess say if you were you wanted to play a support, but you didn't want to be a DPS, so then you just kind of run like a half tank DPS heavy tech builds where you're applying 8 seconds of major cowardice on targets.
I mean,
I guess
it sounds like jank, but
yeah. But there's always the in betweens, right? Like you have your DPS players, then you have your healers, and then you have your people that want to be like a weird ass tank type of thing, and they want value somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Not my problem.
Yeah.
Next one we have is the Telvanni Enforcer heavy armor set. It's got a line of max stam, max health, max magicka. While bracing, increase your magicka recovery by 369, and while you're not bracing, increase your stam recovery by 369. What do you think, Shadi?
Well, the 234 is terrible. I don't like the 234 at all. The 234 for the first two sets were really good, but this one is not so good. And I do take in consideration of the 234. I don't really like really garbage 234s. As far as the 5-piece, bracing gives you mag, not bracing gives you stamina. There's still just better recovery sets in the game. It's not like it gives it to your allies either. It's just kind of like yourself. You could just run Wretched Vitality instead and get more.
I can't even think where I could even use this. Like maybe Cyrodiil if I was sieging or something, but even then I don't think it'd be worth it.
Well, I get the idea behind it, but it's just a worse Wretched Vitality. I'm pretty sure Wretched gives more with better 234 and also 100% uptime on both, whereas this one is only one or the other. And most of the times you're not going to be bracing, so this is really, only a stamina recovery set.
For weird sets like this, I wish they kind of just gave us an example of where they think we could use it, but then people find areas where they could use it instead, like alternatives to what Zos recommends.
Yeah.
I wish they did that. Because right now I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with this? Like, why would you make a worse version of some other set in a weird way? I don't know.
It's like they had an idea and they tried to implement it, but they didn't give it enough strength to be worth using. Now, if this applied to allies within a 6 meter, 8 meter radius of you, then okay, that's probably not that bad. But
yeah, I guess if it was like an aura, like the Beckoning Steel aura, like 15 meters, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty big, but
yeah, I think that'd be cool. But all right, next one, Roxa the Warped Monster Set. It's got 3 lines of recovery. Well, I guess 1 line of tri-stat recovery, and each second you're in combat, gain a stack of Dark Light up to 30 stacks max. Each stack of Dark Light increases your stam recovery, mag, health recovery by 8, which I think comes out to 240. Each second you're out of combat, lose a stack. So you just get a ton of magic recovery while you're in combat, kind of like Death Dealers giving you max stats.
Max, mag, and stam recovery. The health recovery is not really going to be that relevant.
Yeah. Especially if you're a vamp, so.
Again, I feel like there's better monsters that you could use, really, especially as a healer. The One Piece is not really that impressive to me. There's One Pieces out there, I believe, that give just like 129 mag and stam, right? So you're really
Magma Incarnate, right?
Yeah. So you're really just sacrificing the magicka and stamina for a health recovery that isn't really that valuable. And then the 2-piece itself is an okay amount of recoveries, but it takes time to build up, and it's not that much. It doesn't benefit your allies, so there's just better sets to use if you need recovery, and there's better sets to be slotting on your monster, like Earthgore and the other monster set we'll be talking about later, potentially. Even Bloodspawn, other things out there that just, can actually provide support to your team.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't think of anything else to say Other than, yeah, it seems like it would be cool to synergize with Death Dealers because, you get 2 stacking armor pieces that you're wearing, but that's about it. Okay. Next one is Apocryphal Inspiration. Medium armor set. It's got a line of crit chance, stamina recovery, weapon and spell damage. You and group members within 28 meters of you gain major fortitude, intellect, and endurance, increasing your health recovery, magicka, and stamina recovery by 30%. I like this set a lot because it reminds me of Ebon, where you just kind of have that aura giving your team 1,000 health, but this time they get all of the major recovery buffs that you would get from a tri potion. Now, I know we're talking about PvP healing specifically, and almost everybody runs tri-stat potions, so they already have these buffs up 100% of the time anyway. So I like the idea, but I think people are just going to be like, why can't you run something else instead?
It's on the weak side, yeah. I will say, just for the sake of saying it, a lot of people actually don't use tripods anymore.
What?
Yeah, so for instance, I don't use tripods. A lot of my friends don't use tripods. We usually use other things that are more specialized, and it just depends who you're talking to. But you don't really always need a tripod, and so technically you could say this will cover it for the people that don't do that. But the thing is, the people that don't use the tripods is because they don't need the recovery. If they needed it, then they would use it.
Right.
So this is giving them something that they don't need.
Yeah, more sustain, which is nice. I guess nobody would really complain about it.
Yes, but you could use other things like Scorian to give your team sustain.
Yeah. Scorian's Feast you're talking about?
Scorian, you could also use the monster set. What's it called? The one that...
Oh, Symphony?
Yeah, you could use Symphony.
Yeah.
There's a few other options out there, I think, but those two, the first two that come into mind, they could give your teammates recoveries.
Mm-hmm.
And they would give them probably more than this, especially since it's like a flat number.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, I guess it is kind of viable then. I don't like the lines of
I was
stats.
dissing it.
I mean, I still would wear it though. Like, am I gonna go make craft a set in gold? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I'm not even memeing right now. Like, I'll actually have this set in my pocket just to like test it and see how I feel with it, and then maybe use some other potions or some nonsense like that.
I think this set is like C tier or C minus.
So I would still run Ebon.
Even the 234 is bad.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I would still run it just to test. Like, okay. On a serious note, would I run it? No. Am I testing it for the sake of science and knowledge? Yes.
Alright, well. I'll be the one to sacrifice your gold for this, because I will not ever touch this set.
I mean, that's kind of my... That is my duty, I think, as a content creator. I need to make these sacrifices that normal people don't have to, and then let them know with my report at the end of the day. You feel me?
Or they could just get the answer now from me.
Well, we give them the theoretical option, which is pretty accurate, but then we still get some empirical data as well, provided by me in a couple months.
Okay, well, you let me know.
I'll let you know, Shawty. Or you'll catch me wearing it because you're like, what are you wearing right now?
Yeah, I mean, what is that shitty circle around you?
Why do I have these stats up all the time? What the hell's going on here? Alright, the next one is Abyssal Brace. Heavy armor set. It's got 5 lines of stats. 2 max stam, 2 max health. I hate that combo. And then the 5th line reads, while you are bracing, you and group members within 12 meters gain minor evasion, reducing damage from area attacks by 10%. So I think this is technically the second source of minor evasion in the game, right? Between this and the Warden's Predator.
Yeah, so the Warden is getting it through that. I almost feel like there's a set that almost does the exact same thing as this. Is there not?
There is. It's the one that you get from that DLC dungeon. I think it's Unhallowed Grave.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
What difference is there between the two?
That one, the other one gives you armor, like
Okay.
3,000 armor. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not even good. That is a meme. I've used it before and I just get disappointed every time.
Yeah, the 2-3 on this is not that good. Like, I understand max stamina so you can brace longer,
Mm-hmm.
but the extra line of health is not bad. I always agree with any kind of health that you can get. As far as the actual set, again, major problem with bracing. You really don't want to be bracing that much in PvP. You only want to brace when you're getting hit a lot. But the thing is it's not. It's an uptime issue. With sets, you want to have high uptimes on sets, and you could say you get it when you need it most, but that's also not necessarily true because a lot of times you're going to be CC'd. There's a lot of CCs that are unblockable and even undodgeable,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's no guarantee that, okay, so I'll use the set when my team and I need it the most. When we're getting ult dumped, I'll brace and then everybody gets 10%. Well, if the guy streaks you and then your brace is down, everybody gets hit, you didn't even get to use the set to begin with.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily even play the role when you need it, and it's not going to have a high uptime either.
So, for the scenarios that you're talking about, I agree. It has no value. But the only context I think it might be valid is when you're sieging keeps, right? And you're sitting on top of the battering ram. You just hold block, giving everybody this minor evasion buff, and give you a little bit of tank power to absorb the damage from all those siege that they're bombarding you with.
You're
I think
better
it
off
has.
just... Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think it has value in that moment. But would you put it on a healer? No. Maybe some other weird to tank, like that guy I was talking about, the random ass guy who doesn't want to play a healer, doesn't want to DPS, just wants to be like a pure tank. Maybe he could throw this on to help siege keeps. He could sit on the battering ram all day.
I guess. But those kind of players can wear anything.
They could wear anything, but they want to wear the weird stuff. I think this would be a weird. This would be a set they could use.
I think you're getting the roleplay territory at that point.
Yeah. There's a lot of these sets of roleplay, to be honest. Like the ones that are purely not viable and you just want to roleplay and like some weird stuff. Yeah. And I think that's okay.
Okay.
Okay. Next one, Ozezon, the Inferno monster set. It's got a 1 line of max magic recovery, and the second line reads: overhealing yourself or an ally grants them 4,000 armor for 1.1 seconds. Healing yourself or an ally grants them minor vitality for 1.1 seconds, increasing their healing received by 8%. I'll let you take this one, Shadi, since you have it, and I think you have wonderful things to say about this set.
Well, first off, excuse you, but it is 4272 armor.
What did I say?
You said 4,000.
Hey, you round down just for the sake of reading.
No. But, so, yes, I theorized that this would be a good monster set, and I would, after using it and testing it, I would probably say it's the best piece of equipment for a healer out of the entire patch. In fact, I would go as far as to say that this probably outperforms any of the other monster sets that you can currently use in the game as a healer. The one piece is great. Magic recovery is really good. The only thing I could see being better would be healing done, but magic recovery is really good. And the two piece, of course, is where it's at. And the overhealing yourself and ally granting them armor is really the value that where you're getting the value from. But even if you're not getting that, you're getting the 8% vitality, which is working you back up to the armor because you're getting 8% increased healing. So you're getting closer to getting back to your armor. So it kind of works you to getting the other buff. You know what I mean? The other thing is that this is vitality and not mending, so that means that not only are you yourself healing yourself for that amount, but other people are healing you for that amount. And in my opinion, that's better than what mending would be by a small margin.
Yeah.
In testing, I've seen this set. Most people are probably thinking, oh, it'd be about 50-50 on each one, maybe like 60 on one and 40 on the other in terms of uptimes. But the reality of it is that you're getting uptimes on both at the same time a lot of times. So I've had games where after a BG, I'll check CMX, and the armor will be at like 80%, but then the minor vitality is a 70% or a 60%. And the reason that is because when you take damage, you go below 100%. And because you're a healer, you're constantly being healed. So the moment you go below 100%, you get healed, you receive the buff, you go back up to 100%. But then you also get healed again, and you get the armor. And it's kind of like a continuous cycle of being 100% and not being 100%. And so both of these buffs can be up at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you end up getting value from both effects at the same time a lot of times, which makes it incredibly powerful because both effects are pretty good. The armor is better than the healing, but the healing is also not something to, just kind of not care about. It's still significant.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying with you would think it's going to be like 50-50, right? Because they would just need to add up to 100%, but really it's over 100% because they overlap. And even if, say, you never get hit at all, you're going to have practically 100% uptime of 4,272 extra armor the whole time.
So I would say in general, you're getting like 150% value out of the set.
Goddamn. So this set, you think this set's overperforming and deserves a nerf, or it's in a good spot? Otherwise, you wouldn't use it.
I never really like to advocate for nerfs too much. But I think that it is definitely powerful and really strong, and pretty much, any healer should use it. So.
Now, I know for me, since I always run Oakensole stuff, and I usually do my 5-5-1, like my 2 5-piece sets in Oakensole. So for me to get this to work, I'd have to just use a Oakensole with my mitigation set, and then throw in that monster set, and then do a 3-piece spell power or potentates. I'll probably go spell power to run this set. So you think if you're running in a group with 2 healers, we definitely need one of these minimum?
I would probably not have the Oakensole. So here's my opinion. If the Oakensole player is playing by themselves, I would say that this has the potential of being stronger than most of the 5-piece sets that you can use.
Really?
So yeah. So instead of doing the mitigation set, 5-piece buff set, I could say that you could probably just go monster mitigation and then your 3-piece or whatever you do, and that you would get more value out of that.
Okay, how about this for a comparison? If I'm running my mitigation Oakensole Gossamer, you think Gossamer would be less value than this?
Potentially.
Major evasion. We'll say in a BG. Major evasion for 4 people at the same rate of an uptime, right? Because I think it's like 1 second as well, versus this being at 150% uptime, and you're constantly switching between minor vitality and armor.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there, at the very least, would be of a similar value, if not this being swayed as being slightly stronger.
Where's my calculator at? Let me do the quick math.
Obviously, the armor isn't going to be as much mitigation as 20% AoE, but it's more than just that, right?
Yeah. So the armor gives you 6.5. I'm going to use my sig figs and round up. 6.5% damage mitigation extra, which is pretty nice. And then, of course, minor vitality on everybody pretty much all the time.
I guess the thing about Gossamer is Gossamer. No, I remember what Gossamer is. One of the problems with Gossamer can be that it isn't up when you actually need it, because it's when you get healed, not when you
Oh,
receive a
that's right.
heal
That's
or
right.
overheal. So there is potential for taking a large portion of damage before the effect even goes on.
Right, because
Whereas-
Gossamer, you need to actually. It's more of a reactive set, whereas this one is it's working all the time anyway, so you're gonna have one or the other.
You're gonna have the armor while you're at 100%. So the moment you get, hit by the things that Gossamer would be protecting you from, the armor is already there for you.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the armor goes away, the minor vitality is helping you get back up. Help through the recovery phase.
You know what? Maybe I'll do once the semester's over, maybe I'll do a healer video, and then I'll use this as my main set now. Food for thought. Food for thought. But yes, no. Overall, this set is busted as hell.
I agree.
Next, we got Snake in the Stars, light armor set, Magicka recovery, max Magicka, weapon and spell damage, and max Magicka recovery, so 5 lines of stats, and then applying a major or minor debuff to an enemy, apply Star Venom to them for 4 seconds. This effect can occur once every 12 seconds with a cooldown of 12 seconds. Whenever an enemy with Star Venom is healed, they take oblivion damage up to once per 0.1 seconds?
Yes.
An enemy can only be affected by 1 instance of Star Venom at a time.
So the reason I had you keep this one on the list is not because a healer would use it, but as a way to talk about how this could affect healers.
Okay.
Because if you look at it, it's once per 0.10, 1 out of 10 seconds. So,
seconds,
yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that's the same thing. Yeah.
So what that means is you could have the more healing over times you have, the more times that this could proc, and this could do a lot of damage to a healer, and it can be a threat. I just don't know how much of a threat it is yet. I haven't seen it, but it is something to look at and look after.
Because I know a lot of people were complaining and bitching hard on the forums everywhere. Like, why hasn't this set been nerfed? Why isn't this and that? I haven't been paying too much mind to it, but I just know people were complaining a lot. So I'm not sure where they wound up with it at the end of the day. If this is the release set after some nerfs or not. Actually, was it in the patch notes? Let's take a quick look. Control F, Snake in the Stars. Oh, they didn't even add any developers' comments to it. Shoot. Maybe this was from day one of the PTS patch notes. Oh boy.
Yeah. So I haven't seen it yet, but it could be really strong in a counter to healers, which, I mean, ultimately it's a dot, so I don't know how much it would counter a healer. And you can only have 1 instance of it, so only 1 person can use it, but it could be strong.
Yeah.
It's oblivion damage, so it does go through your mitigations as well.
Oblivion damage. Isn't oblivion damage capped at something?
Well,
wait a minute. I thought oblivion damage only affects PvE mobs.
No, so oblivion damage goes. I don't think that works like that. I'm pretty sure it's because it's healing. Mobs don't heal.
Oh.
So that wouldn't work.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
It does go through your mitigations. I do know that.
Where are we at so far? It's only been we're coming up on 2 weeks since this patch went out, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess people haven't gotten it yet. Where did they even get this from? Oh, rewards for the worthy. Okay. So people, I guess it's pretty expensive right now.
Yeah, I've heard that people are, pricing everything really high. But we'll
Okay.
see. It's just something that for healers to look out for. I'm sure there's an animation for it. Um, maybe purging this will be a good idea in the future because anti-purge stuff is kind of not as prevalent these days. So purging is fine, and getting this off of you and your team is maybe something to do
Mm-hmm.
in order to be able to heal again.
Gonna
Um,
bring back Curse Eater.
maybe. Or if it is on your team and you notice it's doing a lot of damage, maybe focus more on your burst heals at that moment. I
Yeah.
don't know. We'll see.
All right. We'll report back in a couple weeks and see if anything changes. Okay. Next, so that covers all the regular sets, or that covers all the new sets that were introduced. For, I think we only have. Oh, did we delete Mara's?
I didn't.
No, I might have deleted it by accident. Well, either case.
I think we already talked about Mars and what changed.
Yeah,
It went
we mentioned it, so we
from
want
1600 to 1100.
Yeah.
Which, just for quick context, Mars. So it's not really even about the heal over time. It's more about the burst heal. So, I mean, I wouldn't use it. Some people will still. It's more just about the purge and the burst heal. That is what kind of needed to get nerfed, not the heal over time. But whatever.
Yeah.
I never used it. I didn't think it was like something worth bothering with. I know it's strong, but there's other things you can do.
Yeah, I only used it whenever I was running my guard setup. That's about it. Okay, so the only mythic one I want to talk about is the Pearls of Elnafay. This set now grants 3 ultimate when you attempt to cast an ability that consumes resources while under 50% of your dominant resource, rather than 5 ultimate while under 30% of that resource. This was done to make the set more widely available to use while peeling back some of the royal power of the set. So this was actually one of my biggest complaints ever since this came out. Whenever somebody would mention, oh yeah, what about for PvP? I'm like, no, because if you're under 30% resources, you're pretty much going to be killed. Well, not really killed, but you don't ever want to be down there because you don't know how many burst heals you might have to throw down on your ally. And I know for me personally, I'm usually like capped out at max a lot of the time, just like naturally because I heavy attack a lot and stuff like that. So I figured theoretically years ago that if this was at 50%, it might be viable, but just watching or playing, even playing today, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I'd still use this set. I know Death Dealers is still number 1, but would I pick this over Snow Treaders, Wild Hunt, Gaze of Sithis? I don't think so.
It's really hard for me to say because I don't actually, I don't own this one. I probably won't ever farm it to try it.
Mm-hmm.
It really depends how much ult gen you get from it. Like, are you actually getting a whole lot of ult gen from this, or is it just a little bit? Like ult gen is really powerful. Don't get me wrong. I love using Shimmering Shield, which got more ult gen than it already had. So I get a lot of ult gen. I like it, but this again, you can't just discount Death Dealers just because it's number 1. You have to be like, okay, so Death Dealers is currently number 1. How does this stack to it now that it's been changed? And the truth is that it doesn't. The ult gen is nice, but Death Dealers is still just number 1. It's such a good mythic for healers. It's my opinion.
It's not so much how does it stack with Death Dealers, because it's not even a comparison. It's more like how does it stack with second place, the second place mythics, right? Because we already know Death Dealers is number 1, so that's not even an option, But with the other ones like Snow Treaders, Wild Hunt, I still don't think I'd use Pearls, to be honest. Like, it's certainly a little bit more viable, but okay, here's what you'd have to do for the regular people out there. Record a BG, all right, and then just play normally that you would normally play without using this set, and then rewatch the video and just see how often you get below 50%, and even when you do get below 50%, are you naturally heavy attacking to get yourself back to max cap resources, or do you just roll with it and you're actually using healing abilities while you're underneath to really make use of the set? And then count how many times this is occurring in a BG, and then figure, okay, is it worth it? That would probably be my recommendation for everybody. But I know for me personally, I'm not touching this thing still.
Yeah, I mean, death dealers. I'm just gonna keep using death dealers.
Yeah, a GGO console. I'm sorry, I'm never giving that setup. Okay. Next, so that covers all the sets. So next we have some class changes. Well, this one is for the Sorcerer, Daedric Summoning, Conjured Ward. The only thing, I mean, do you want to? I don't even know what to say for this one. I don't play Sorc at all, and I don't really care.
Long story short, they basically made the shield scale off of health now, as well as Magicka, so it's both. And they increased the max health cap and the strength of the shield. As far as that goes, as a healer, you're probably still going to be using Bird. Or even if you're not using Bird, you don't have room to use a shield and a burst heal. And you don't want to just be a heal over time healer. That's garbage. So really, it doesn't apply too much. I mean, I guess you could, and it would be good at keeping you alive to some degree. I guess like the main thought of process to this of why it could be useful would be like, say, you know, you're a sword killer and you use Bird and you have an extra slot that you don't know where to put anything in. So you could put this on your slot, and the reason you would put that there is so that if your Bird dies and you know you're getting hounded on by a group of people, and you don't have time to summon your Bird, you know they're gonna bash you, prevent the bird summoning if you try to do it because they're right next to you. Well, at least you have a shield, you know, a strong shield, because it scales off HP, and everybody should build high HP on a healer. And so you would still have a second form of survivability that will be reliable outside of the Bird. That would be mostly the only use for it.
So I was thinking, if I was gonna run this on an open soul setup, I could squeeze it on there, right, and use Regenerative Ward. So then that way I can give my team a minor intellect and minor endurance, and I would get a somewhat fat shield. I'm looking at ESO build editor right now, but you know, I'd have, what am I even running on this setup? Trials and okay, we're gonna ignore this activated Dragon Guard I got on there, but I would normally have 40,000 health, so I guess that'd be 20%, 20,000, 10,000. Yeah, I guess I get like a 10,000 shield in PvP for myself, and then be able to provide those extra minor buffs for my team. Granted, you already get the minor recoveries from Oaken Soul, so you don't benefit from it. But
of course.
It's so funny. Every time I'm like, oh yeah, this would be cool, but because I run Oaken Soul, it sucks for me, but it's not about me. But then, you know, wearing a Oaken Soul, because these sets have all these little extra things, they become half sets whenever I put Oaken Soul on, because I don't benefit.
Yeah, and again, I can't do the thing where you don't get a benefit from it.
Yeah.
The overlap. I don't do overlap.
So sad. But that's a me problem. Okay. Next one. The Warden, Crystallized Shield. This ability and Shimmering Shield morph now grant 2 ultimate when the shield takes damage, rather than restoring Magicka equal to 22% of the ability's cost. Oh, Lord Almighty.
They also increased the cost of the ability by about 500 Magicka.
Yes.
And they reduced the strength of Shimmering Shield, which is the one that healers use, by 33%.
I mean, I know Shimmering Shield is busted. I don't know how I feel about this. Do I want an extra because it's three projectiles you can block, so that's gonna be 6 ultimate. I think I'd still rather have the Magicka, to be honest.
Yeah, so the old version was definitely better, just from a recovery standpoint. The ability was almost free when previously if you popped all 3 shields.
Oh, dude, it was amazing. I could stand in one spot just casting this if I was getting bombarded by like a ranged enemy. It was pretty cool.
If you use the crystallized slab, you could just outright kill them. Like if they use the bolt ult, you have crystallized slab, and you just spam the ability, it'll shoot. You'll just become a machine going pow 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 with ice.
Nice.
But it's still definitely worth using. I've been using it. I haven't found like, okay, the shield is too small. It's still useful. And as far as
you're using shimmering or crystallized?
Definitely shimmering.
Okay.
You want the old gen. And as far as the cost goes, I never really spammed this as much as like other people may have. I used it. I would throw it up if I thought a Nightblade was going to spec bow me, which is one of the main reasons I like using it outside of the major heroism, is because I don't want to get hit for a 15k spec bow. That's not, I don't want any part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just use shimmering, and I don't even have to think about it anymore. But it's still useful for that, and still useful for the major heroism. And if you do want to spam it, it will cost you a lot of magicka, but you're trading magicka for ult gen. So if you have somebody spamming range attacks on you, and you're like, I need another Destro ult, you could spam your Shimmering Shield a few times and get your Resto ult back up super fast. I've done that before, just as like a strategic, move. It's like, okay, I need another Resto ult real quick. My team's not really getting pressured, but this dude is just hitting me with a bunch of range attacks. I'm just gonna spend some magicka, get some ult gen back. And it worked out pretty well.
I guess it's not even that bad too. You throw up Shimmering Shield and then do a heavy attack.
Another thing that this has extra synergy with is using Decisive, because it's a lot of small instances of ult gen.
Oh yeah, yep.
So if you're trying to do a Decisive build, this will be extra useful for that.
Yeah. Nice. So I guess you consider this a net buff?
I wouldn't call it a buff.
You think it's still neutral?
It's just different. It's just different. Previous patch, the shield was stronger, but you don't really notice it. But it was basically free. You could spam it if you wanted to. This patch, you can't spam it quite as much, but if you do spam it, you get rewarded for doing so in the form of ult gen. And otherwise, it has all the same functions, just costs more. So
I guess for me, I'm gonna consider this a net negative, but it's not like it's gonna drop a tier. No, it's still awesome. It just went down like a smidgen.
Yeah, no, it's still definitely worth using. I wouldn't even be sad that it got changed, honestly. DPS players should be more sad, actually, because the Crystallized Slab lost its damage, whereas Shimmering still basically has all of its core functions.
Well, that's not our problem.
Nope. We're healers, not damage dealers.
GG. And last, we have Mist Form, which is no longer a toggled ability that reduces your damage taken from players or grants crowd control immunity while active. Instead, they now teleport you to a position of your cursor up to 15 meters away, reduce your damage taken from the next 3 projectiles by 100% while teleporting, and then casting any of these abilities will increase the cost of the ability by 33% for 4 seconds. The base cost 4,000, which reduces blah blah blah. And then Elusive Mist, you get Major Expedition and Major Evasion for 4 seconds. And then Blood Mist, whatever. So I was actually testing this like about a couple hours ago when I was doing some BGs and stuff, and I didn't test it in the BG. I just put the ability on and had somebody just root me, and obviously because we lost the crowd control immunity, it's like as if you root somebody and then they streak, you're still rooted, and I'm like, no thanks, I'm not using this stuff. So I think this sucks, and I'm still not using Mistform.
Yeah, it does kind of suck. So what they need to do is they need to remove one of the effects for a root removal, honestly.
Remove one of the effects. So make it akin to Race Against Time, right? Is that what
Yeah, so there's three. It has three effects, right? It has projectile absorption, it has major expedition, and major evasion.
If you pick elusive mist.
Right, which blood mist is just damage and heals and not that useful.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be using elusive anyways, as people were before. It's still the better morph of the two, but yeah, the problem is that like you don't really want to. If you have Race Against Time, you don't want to run this. If you have this, you still want Race Against Time though, because you need a root removal, so it doesn't really work, right? This would be, I would say, yeah, it would be a really good ability if it had a root removal.
Yeah, then I would use this 100%.
It would be a good way for people to get like another option.
Do you think it's stacked right now if you threw on root removal, or would you have to trade something out for it?
You have to trade something out because it would become too strong.
What would you trade out? Major expedition has to stay on it, of course.
I would if I wanted the ability to be as strong as they can be, but I'll at least trade something out. I would trade out the projectiles and keep the major evasion. So you get major expedition, major evasion, and root removal, and forget the projectile thing.
Honestly, I think I'd take out the major evasion, to be honest, because I'm thinking more from a roleplay LOL perspective, right? You're a vampire, you're turning into mist, okay? Which, to me, if you're rooted, then you're kind of just phasing through the root, okay? So you're becoming immune to it. You're being able to dodge these projectiles because you're phasing through the projectiles so they're not hitting you, right? Whereas major evasion, you just get damage mitigation. Which I guess you could also kind of finagle an explanation to make it work from a roleplay perspective. But I think
my brain turned off the moment you said I mean, you could definitely roleplay major evasion as well if you really wanted to.
Yeah, but I feel like it would be better if major evasion was removed and they threw the root immunity back on.
I guess it would be fine either way.
Yeah, either way. If it was either one that they removed, I'd be fine with it. But they need a crowd. They need, because it's for our perspective, we need that root immunity. Otherwise, we can't use it.
I guess you could argue that the removing the major evasion would be somewhat better because the projectile thing kind of makes sense since you're gap closing away most of the time, I would assume, and so it's kind of covering your back. Whereas the major evasion, you want, whenever you use a major evasion, you kind of want a longer duration one because you're not going to really want to try to reactive use this. So I guess it might be stronger if it did it the way that you said.
And if you think about it, dude, we're stage 3 vampire, bro. Like, we're already busted.
I mean, I actually don't even use vampire on my healer anymore.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. The times have changed, Shawty.
Indeed. But
Indeed, they have.
The other advantage of using this and why it would be really good if it did have removal is that it also is giving you that extra weapon and spell damage.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yep. So you get a boost to your heals as well.
Yep, it would be pretty good. But as it currently stands, it's just kind of not there. Maybe remove the major evasion, give it a 4-second root removal, and it'll be a good ability worth using.
I agree. I knew you'd come around. Lol.
Well, I got thinking about it. It's like 4 seconds for major evasion is kind of low. So the projectiles probably do have a little bit more value at the end of the day.
Yeah, because imagine like you're in Cyrodiil and you're just getting bombarded, and then you just do this, and it's just like, oh, GG, get fucked, everybody.
See ya, nerds.
See ya. And then you can just kind of spam it a little bit, although it says
casting. It's like streak.
Yeah.
It costs 33% per one. You can probably cast this 2 to 3 times before having to stop.
But it's probably better than streak, because this one like guarantees 3 projectiles being absorbed, whereas if you're using ball of lightning, then it's like only in that instant.
Well, ball of lightning, I think the ball kind of stays there for a little bit, and it absorbs 1 projectile per second, whereas this is 3 projectiles and then it's done.
Yeah, so you could just freaking do this.
This one's a little better. Now, I will say the teleport is pretty sluggish. It's kind of bad. You would mostly just be using it to get rid. Like, you wouldn't be using it for the teleport so much as you would be using it to just get your root removal, your major expedition, and your 3 basically shimmering shield. It doesn't give you all gem, but that's most of the value from the ability. The teleport is like, okay, it's just okay. It's not that great.
Do you think you should stop after the teleport?
I would prefer it if you could keep moving.
Yeah, me too. I think that's part of the reason why I don't like it. Because I like casting Race Against Time because the animation feels great and I feel like I'm going fast. But when I use this thing, I'm like, God, I don't ever want to touch this ability ever.
I'm always for abilities and for classes and everything to be super strong and feel really good, because it's better for things to not be perfectly balanced but all feel like they're all really strong and really good. Like if every class was busted, it would be a good game to play. And if every ability was good, and even if it was a little busted, they would still be fun to use. The game is about having fun and for things to be useful. And as things stands with abilities like this not quite there yet, you just don't want to use it.
Yeah.
And I'd rather it overperform slightly than just be useless garbage that nobody wants.
Agreed. And I think with that, because I'd like to ask more follow-up questions, but then we're going to be here for a little bit longer than we want to.
Right.
All right, well, we're about to hit the 1 hour mark, and I think that's it for this episode. So I don't know when we're going to do the next one, but whenever that episode arrives, we'll be here. We're not really going anywhere.
No.
Maybe we'll do some Arcanist stuff next time.
We had a few ideas. Of what we could do.
We certainly did. But with that, we'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.